An explanation of the book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace, by Nedra Glover Towab, with a detailed explanation of each chapter, analyzing the main ideas and points the author addresses in these chapters. Chapter 1. What are boundaries and why do we need them? In this chapter, Nedra Glover Towab provides a simple yet profound definition of boundaries. Boundaries are the rules we set to protect ourselves from others and to determine how we want people to treat us. Key points of the chapter. 1. Boundaries help protect our mental and physical health. If we don't set boundaries with others, people may violate our personal space, leading to feelings of exhaustion and anger. 2. Types of boundaries. Physical boundaries. When touch is appropriate and when it isn't. Emotional boundaries. Respecting our feelings and not holding us accountable for others' feelings. Yin. Time boundaries. Respecting our time and energy. Mental boundaries. Respecting our thoughts and opinions. Physical boundaries. Identifying our own property and not allowing others to use it without permission. 3. The importance of boundaries in maintaining healthy relationships. Good boundaries don't mean rejecting others, but rather learning how to ask for what we need and how to communicate honestly and respectfully. For example, if you feel overwhelmed by work, you must learn to say no to additional tasks that may negatively impact your mental health. Chapter 2. Signs of a boundary absence. In this chapter, the author presents clear signs that someone is suffering from a boundary absence. She notes that many people struggle without realizing they need to set boundaries. Symptoms of a boundary absence. Constant burnout. When you put others before yourself and continually meet their needs at the expense of your own comfort. Guilt. When saying no, when a person feels like they've fallen short if they refuse a request. Inability to apologize or refuse. People who don't set boundaries feel like they should always be there for others. Constant ignoring your own needs. For example, not taking time to take care of yourself because you're busy meeting the needs of others. Tip: if you experience any of these symptoms, it means you need to reevaluate how you set boundaries in your life. Chapter 3. Why setting boundaries is difficult. In this chapter, Nedra explains the underlying reasons why setting boundaries is difficult. These usually relate to fear, upbringing, and false beliefs. The main reasons for setting boundaries are: 1. Fear of rejection. Many people fear being rejected or considered unlovable if they set boundaries. 2. Guilt. In our societies, we are expected to always be kind and available to others. Therefore, we may feel guilty if we say no. 3. Parenting. If you grew up in an environment where boundaries were not set, you may not know how to do so. 4. Emotional attachment. We may feel that boundaries threaten our relationship with a loved one. Tip: remember that setting boundaries is an act of self-love. It is not selfish. It is necessary for your personal safety. Chapter 4. How to set boundaries. This chapter provides practical strategies for setting boundaries clearly and decisively in your life. It rarely provides practical guidelines that can be implemented immediately. Steps to setting boundaries. 1. Define what you want. Before setting boundaries, you must be clear with yourself about what you do and don't want. 2. Be honest. When setting boundaries, you must express yourself clearly, such as saying no or "I can't do that." 3. Don't justify yourself. Don't feel the need to provide lengthy justifications. Simply saying "I can't" is sufficient. 4. Wait for the reaction. People may react to your boundaries with rejection or resistance. You must be prepared for that. For example, if a coworker asks you to complete an additional task, you might say, "I appreciate the request, but I don't have time for that today." Chapter 5. When your boundaries are not respected. In this chapter, the author discusses how to deal with people who ignore your boundaries. If others don't respect your boundaries, how will you respond? Strategies. 1. Reaffirm your boundaries. When someone ignores your boundaries, remind them again in a firm tone. 2. Set specific consequences. If boundaries are consistently ignored, you must set clear consequences. 3. Enforce consequences. If your boundaries are not respected, you must be diligent in enforcing them. For example, if someone is constantly bothering you at inappropriate times, you can cut off contact for a certain period. Example: If you continue to contact me at inappropriate times, I won't be able to respond in the future. Chapter 6. Boundaries in Romantic Relationships. Boundaries in romantic relationships can be some of the most difficult to establish. In this chapter, Nedra offers tips on how to set healthy boundaries with your partner. I see key points. 1. Clear communication. It's essential to set clear boundaries with your partner regarding time, privacy, and personal space. 2. Give both of you space. Even in romantic relationships, each person needs their own space. You shouldn't be absorbed by others. 3. Dealing with expectations. You should discuss expectations with your partner regarding daily life, such as scheduling work or who decides on financial matters. For example, if your partner believes you should respond to their messages immediately, you could say, "I need time for myself. I won't be able to respond right away, but I'll get back to you later." Chapter 7. Boundaries with Family. In this chapter, the author focuses on how to set boundaries with people we love, such as parents or siblings. It can be difficult to set boundaries with close people because we don't want to hurt their feelings. Key points. 1. Set boundaries without guilt. Setting boundaries with family doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you respect yourself and your needs. 2. Communicating openly. For example, if your family expects you to always be available, you should define when you are available and when you are not. 3. Learn to say no gracefully. Learn how to say no without feeling guilty. For example, if a family member asks you to talk about something that's bothering you, you can say, "I need some time to process this, and I'll talk about it later." Chapter 8. Boundaries in Work. In this chapter, the author highlights the importance of setting boundaries in the workplace, one of the most common places where time and energy are misused unconsciously. Common problems without boundaries at work. Working after hours. Responding to messages and calls throughout the day. Taking on tasks that aren't your responsibility. Inability to say no to requests from your manager or colleagues. Strategies for setting boundaries. 1. Clearly define your work hours. Don't respond to messages or calls after work. 2. Say no to unnecessary additional tasks. For example, "I don't have room in my schedule for that right now." 3. Communicate clearly about your energy and boundaries. It's okay to say, "This is more than I can handle today." For example, "I'll finish the current tasks first, then I can look into it later." Chapter 9. Boundaries with Friends. Relationships with friends can become a burden if they aren't built on respect and mutual understanding. In this chapter, the author explains how friendships without boundaries can deteriorate. Signs of a toxic friendship without boundaries. Friends who are overly emotionally dependent on you. Those who demand more than you can give. Those who don't respect your time or circumstances. How to set boundaries with friends. 1. Be clear about your time and personal space. 2. Stop overgiving. Don't make them always dependent on you. 3. Discuss disagreements honestly and respectfully. A healthy relationship requires telling the truth. Example: "I love talking to you, but I can't hear all the details right now. Can we talk later?" Chapter 10. Boundaries with Social Media. This chapter is especially important in our current era, as social media consumes our time and energy and unconsciously impacts our mental health. Problems of lack of boundaries on social media. Scrolling for long hours without awareness. Comparing your life to the lives of others. Allowing strangers or even relatives to invade your privacy. Strategies for setting digital boundaries. 1. Set a specific time for using social media daily. 2. Unfollow or block people who negatively impact your mood. 3. Don't feel guilty about withdrawing or not responding. Example: "I don't use my phone after 9 p.m. and I won't respond to messages after this time." Chapter 11. Consequences. When boundaries are not respected. Here, the author focuses on the importance of enforcing consequences when others don't respect your boundaries. Setting boundaries without enforcing them renders them useless. Reasons why others ignore your boundaries. You weren't assertive enough. You didn't explain the consequences clearly. People who love control only respect those who enforce them. How to deal with boundary. Ignoring. 1. Remind the person of your boundaries. 2. Explain the consequences clearly and specifically. 3. Enforce the consequences if the ignoring continues. Example. I told you before that I don't tolerate ridicule about my decisions. If that happens again, I'll end the conversation. Chapter 12. Maintaining boundaries. Setting boundaries is the first step, but maintaining them consistently is the biggest challenge. In this chapter, the author emphasizes that consistency in enforcing boundaries is the key to inner peace. How to maintain your boundaries. Be consistent. Don't set boundaries one day and back down the next. Confront challenges steadfastly. You will encounter resistance, and that's normal. Remind others of your boundaries when needed. Accept responsibility for consistently enforcing consequences. Example. I can't attend family functions every week, and I will stick to that even if some people get frustrated. Chapter 13. Why setting boundaries makes others angry. This chapter discusses why some people get angry or refuse to respect boundaries, revealing that refusal or anger about your boundaries isn't a sign of your fault, but rather of unhealthy expectations from the other party. Why do people get angry about your boundaries? Because they're used to getting what they want from you. Because they see you've changed and are no longer as available as you once were. Because they see boundaries as a threat to their power or control over you. How do you handle their anger? Understand that their anger is not your responsibility. Don't back down from your boundaries to please them. Remain calm and confident in your stance. Chapter 14. Peace comes when we set boundaries. In this concluding chapter, Nedra emphasizes that inner peace is not the result of pleasing others, but rather the result of self-respect. Boundaries are not barriers, but rather a bridge that leads us to healthy, balanced relationships. What happens when you set healthy boundaries? You feel more in control of your life. You feel less angry, stressed, and overwhelmed. You begin to attract relationships based on mutual respect. You reclaim yourself, your time, and your energy. Final message from the author. You deserve to be heard and respected. You deserve comfort and reassurance. And boundaries are the path to that peace.